Hello, you beautiful mirrors of the creation. Welcome to another video of the Law of One concepts, where we will talk about one of the most important words, I believe, in the raw material, or at least in the philosophy or the teachings of evolution of the soul, catalyst. This is something that we have heard numerous times from different sources and talking about spiritual evolution. And in the raw material is very, very common, and it's something that we learn to understand more and more over time. So this video, again, is going to be a very brief introduction, much like a nutshell, everything of catalyst that I think it's important that I can take out, but by no means does it include every important aspect of this word as it relates to the process of evolution and the understanding of the self, which I think is the key thing in catalyst. So I have several points, several quotes that I'm going to read to you from Ra, and I have also a lot of videos actually on catalyst, which you can find here. Some of them, there are a lot, so you can even search catalyst in my channel and you'll find a lot of videos dedicated to that, whole sessions where they talked about catalyst and experience. This also goes into the tarot, but I won't talk about that, and the archetypes, the archetypical mind. So just to show you the extent of this word that seems to describe almost everything in our life. So with that being said, I can start with the brief introduction of what catalyst is. I'll just talk about what catalyst seems to be to me, and which will bring us to the first point. And that is, the catalyst is, in essence, everything in our life. Anything can be catalyst, because it seems to be like the interaction that we have with space-time and our makeup, our current makeup of view of life, which has been altered and has been changed, and it keeps changing. So we can use anything as catalyst as long as we are consciously involving ourselves in the rewards that the experience is bringing, or the situation rather is bringing, because experience comes after catalyst has been used. And so catalyst is basically everything. And before we get a little bit too far, I want to read to you something that Ra said. In session 19, question 13, Ra said, "The quickest way to learn is to deal with other selves. This is a much greater catalyst than dealing with the self. Dealing with the self without other selves is akin to living without what you would call mirrors." I think this quote is really important to keep in mind as we start talking about catalysts being everything in our lives, because other people, other selves, are the most important providers of catalysts. That is because of our interaction with them. You can see that catalyst can be just standing. That could be catalyst. Catalyst can be dust in the air. Catalyst can be how we treat animals or deal with plants and our diet and everything. But you can see how the intensity, the emotional intensity of each of any one situation like this is completely overtaken by the experience or situation that we can engage with other people. And so that's why Ra says that the quickest way is to deal with other selves, and actually living without other selves is akin to living without mirrors, because other people are mirrors to us. Once again, this is probably a good point to emphasize that when we talk about other people being mirrors, or actually the whole universe being a mirror of ourselves, is because if you have ever changed your view on somebody, you can see that what changed wasn't the person, but your view of it. So if your view changes, then the mirror changes, of course, and it's the shape and the appearance that they had changes because you changed the light that you were, as it were, shining on them. So this is why when we deal with other people and we have a tendency towards dislike or rejection, that's because that's just showing us ourselves. So it's showing ourselves there. So you can see how this catalyst, this situation, is providing catalyst for us to self-analyze. Why are we rejecting the person? Or why are we loving them? Or why are we trying to control the situation? Or why do we accept it and embrace it? And so you can see that every single emotion, the emotions to me are somehow like alarms in our system to tell us how we feel. What is it that is, this situation is always making me feel fearful or angry or happy or anything, nostalgic. What is it in there? There is a mystery inside that situation that keeps repeating. And for the keen eye, you can see that it doesn't have to be the same situation, although it seems like it's poorly disguised as the same situation. But it can be a completely different situation, but the experience that you're having, the emotion that you're having is really the key note to take care of when we're going through that situation. And so that catalyst, as you can see, is not good or bad. Catalyst is neutral in its own makeup because reality is actually neutral. When we look at something and we say, I love this, and somebody else says, I hate this, the object is neutral. It has no quality in and of itself aside from what we attribute it to it. So catalyst is always neutral, and it triggers us for something, triggers an emotion in us. So that's the key thing there when we see it. What kind of emotion am I feeling here? Now, what is the purpose of catalyst? Why is it doing all of this? What's the meaning of it? Well, it is essentially to accelerate our evolution. The meaning of catalyst is something that speeds up the process of something, like a chemical reaction. And so our chemical or emotional reaction is catalyzed by these situations, or potentially catalyzed by the situations if we use it consciously, which we'll get to at the end. And so accelerating evolution is this key thing. By what? What is the purpose? How do we accelerate evolution this way? Well, because we need to balance the situations. We want to balance situations. We want to choose either path, which is the second topic, I will say, that is important, and we'll get to that too. So you can see what the choices. You should know already that is positive or negative, but it'll become more clear as we talk about catalysts and how this affects the choice of the two paths. So that is what it's doing. It's accelerating evolution towards that, and that's why it provides experience. Catalyst provides the experience, and you can see this in a very practical example as if a situation gave you a sense of joy, then that was an experience of joy that you said, well, I enjoy that. That was helpful. That was inspiring, right? That was a lovable thing. And that's the purpose of catalyst, is to provide that experience. It can provide, the other sense, oh, that was very uncomfortable. I feel so frustrated. I am angry. Both of those are showing you part of yourself. And whereas one seems to go in the proper way of evolution, the other one is showing you what is blocking you to go through the process of evolution. And you can see why then we repeat patterns, because there are certain lessons that we need to learn. And that'll become a little bit more clear as we go on, especially to the second to last point. And then what happens is that there is further polarization in that process. So you can see that further polarization actually is the result of how we deal with the experience. It's simple. You polarize yourself more depending on how much do you see a situation. So let me give you an example. Somebody who is stuck in their emotions. And remember, our emotions are lower energy centers. So if we're stuck in our lower emotions, or our emotions in general, and we can't move on from there, then we can say that we are stagnating in polarization. This is what's happening all around the world right now, as we are in what Ra calls the sinkhole of indifference, where people are not polarizing towards the negative or the positive. They are just staying there. They're just not interested in any of the two. They despise the negative, most people, and they are afraid of the positive because it talks about unity and loving, and they have too many emotions that they need to accept, and they have too much trauma. And so this is the current situation that we're in, and it's a beautiful situation because it provides, guess what, a lot more catalyst for all of us, which is the possibility to help others, to aid others. It doesn't matter where are you in the ladder of evolution, if we can call it that, where you are in your path, you can always help other people by simply inspiring you. You are inspiration. And so anything that inspires love, acceptance, joy, compassion, that is something that is catalyst for others to also use. And you can only provide it. You can't make them process it. So this is the whole spiel of the catalyst. It's really a neutral situation that provides an experience, a potential experience that will accelerate evolution and that will further polarize you. And that's key, which we're gonna get later on. So for the next point, I want to read something to you so we can put into context this about the path that we can take and how Catalyst starts working with us. Let's see what Ross said. In session 46, question 16, Ross said, "These are the two paths. When neither path is chosen, the catalyst fails in its design, and the entity proceeds until catalyst strikes it, which causes it to form a bias towards acceptance and love, or separation and control." In other words, catalyst will continue to come in until we develop a bias. Bias on what? On our choice, on our polarity, because if you remember, the purpose of third density consciousness is to develop a direction, to make a choice between the only two paths that exist for continuing in our evolution as souls. What is that? Is the positive path of service to others and unity, or the service to self, which wants to gain for itself, is the ego inflated path in which there is control, manipulation, and just everything for me. So the choice is really, it's yours, but it's important, it's necessary, it's crucial, it's indispensable. That will continue to happen. Catalysts will continue to occur in your life until you develop a choice. And you know from your heart what type of choice it is. The vast majority of you are already aware enough to know which direction you want. Whereas other people, which deserves the understanding and compassion, is at a level where Ra explains that there is a random catalyst that is provided by the logos, which is in essence the same thing, but they are simply receiving random catalysts for them to develop a bias. They don't have a bias yet, and the vast majority of you, I would think, is on the positive path, and that means that you already know your choice. You have gotten into the heart and felt that. So that's how catalysts work. Now, this means that catalyst being neutral, what it will do on each individual mind-body-spirit complex is to color the way we experience life. And you can start to see this as we develop the biases that we have. For example, if I win the lottery and I get a lot of money, then my bias would be to see how I can use this money for the benefit of others. That is how I color experience. Maybe others would say, I will donate it all. Others would say, I will build an empire, a legacy of my name. It doesn't matter. This is really how catalysts can come to us, and we decide, depending on our unique biases. There is no right or wrong way to do it. You can build an empire, and you can also donate everything to charity. It doesn't matter. There is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. It's simply the way we want to use that catalyst. That is important because it'll create the variety of people and entities that we have for a much more, a richer environment in which we can deal with each other. This is the beauty of third density. You can start to see how catalysts, a simple thing like catalysts, can create so much diversity. In fact, I would show you the best analogy that we have is that planet Earth seems to be so abundant in life forms that is just staggering for explorers and for biologists to just see the diversity that we have in nature. This is the same in our societies. We have so many different people, and you can see how this is just a beautiful part of the creation, at least from these logos. So I say that by this catalyst being that, right? It shows the uniqueness in each and one of us. That is the art of being, the art of beingness, how we can be so different, how we can be so special because we're taking catalyst and using it from a different way. And it all depends on our inclinations and our desires and everything else. But that is how we use it, either towards the positive or the negative. And anything else is just stagnant. It's just there waiting for it. Catalyst will continue to come. And that is just how it is. Now, one of the things that happens with catalyst is that it doesn't go the right way. And now I'm going to say what the right way is, of course, because there is a stagnation and then there is evolution. When I say the wrong way, or it doesn't go the right way, is in the process of evolution, because there is only one direction. Even if we have two paths, there's only one direction, and that one is up, as in the sense of upward spiraling light, which means evolution towards infinity, singularity, the Godhead, intelligent infinity. So there's something that Ra says here that I think is important, and I want you to pay attention really to what they say here, and then I'll elaborate a little bit more. In question 34, question 6, Ra says, very often the catalyst for emotional pain, whether it be the death of the physical complex of one other self which is loved, or some other seeming loss, will simply result in the opposite, in a bitterness, an impatience, a souring. This is catalyst which has gone awry. In these cases, then, there will be additional catalysts provided to offer the unmanifested self further opportunities for discovering the self as all-sufficient creator, containing all that there is and full of joy. Now, if you have been paying attention, you would see that Ra at the end said the catalyst will continue to repeat until something develops. So you can see that this mechanism is just the system in which we will eventually, no matter what, evolve. And it will never go wasted. There is never an opportunity in which catalyst goes wasted. It's a good point to mention, even though I won't elaborate more, because that is its own study. And trust me when I say, catalyst in and of itself can be a whole class, probably multiple classes. But one thing is that when we don't process mental catalyst after a long time, it goes into the body and the body absorbs it. And that's why we develop certain illness and other health issues. But like I said, that's a very long topic. In any case, what Ra is saying here is that it will repeat. And the most important part is when they say that sometimes catalyst will manifest itself as, and I think they use the word or the example of the loss of somebody, or the loss of it could be the death of somebody, or a breakup, or something else that you feel like you lose them somehow. This is catalyst, very emotional catalyst, that in our societies go very wrong, because in one part I think one of our ignorance is that we don't know what happens after death. We don't know what happens in ourselves when we lose somebody as a relationship. We have no idea of what is happening. So developing an understanding, knowledge in general of who you are, helps you to deal with that catalyst. This is catalyst that results in stagnation, like I said, in bitterness, souring, and simply just resentment for life, if you will. I think this is important. I wanted to include it here because most of us have been dealing with this sort of catalyst, and we can still remember. If you have been meditating for a while, you might have had the experience of suddenly remembering something that you say, well, that wasn't nice when I did that. Or why do I still feel regret for this, or resentment for that? And so you can see how catalyst is, it's really important to even backtrack our steps and heal those traumas. So that is to me the most important part of the art of being, of reflecting on catalyst and seeing what is it that it's bringing to us. So something to keep in mind, especially when we talk about catalyst, as it's coming in, you can see that our society, our world in general, is providing a lot of catalyst. when we talk about the mirrors, everybody being a mirror, we're not only talking about person to person or impersonal or even communication online with other people, or even making a comment like you would in this YouTube video. We're talking about even how we feel about celebrities or politicians or the neighbor which we don't know, or simply anybody that we have a sort of trigger that causes us to have an emotion. And so these are the mirrors that we have for sure, and how they interact with the world. All of this is that. So that is the way I would wrap up this up. And I have something else that I want to share, which I think is huge, and we'll end up this beautifully with the last couple of points. In session 94, question 12, Ross says, as the entity increases in experience, it shall, more and more, choose positive interpretations of catalyst if it is upon the service to others' path, and negative interpretations of catalyst if its experience has been along the service to self path. This essentially means that the more you have been using catalyst in one path, then the more you will intensify the further catalyst that is going to come your way in either way, that is the positive or the negative. Because the more you are into one view of the world, the more you will receive catalysts that will empower you through that worldview. This you can see in so many ways for anybody who has a very defined path, and how they continue to receive the catalyst that they need in that regard. You can also see how this can get really complex if we throw in the program catalyst in incarnation as to why people don't develop the things that they want because they are not aligned with their true purpose. But just to see in general how we can create or intensify our own catalyst is by realizing who we are. And by realizing who we are, we will naturally develop a bias towards a specific path, which I would think the majority of you is in the positive, and that acceptance of reality will bring you even more catalyst to broaden your view in that path. The same thing, of course, happens in the negative path. And this is why I say that the catalyst is really proportional to your polarization. And that what brings is further intensification. Intensification, how? Well, the more you are into one path, the more the catalyst will come to you in that path for you to increase even more. So it's a feedback loop that happens over and over again as you provide or are provided with catalysts, and you decide to see the world. And I'll give you an example. If things are not going your way, and you simply say, I'm going to accept everything as it is, and I believe everything is beautiful and perfect, and I will continue to do it. This is not as an affirmation, but as a process of you accepting it and say, this is the best. I don't know, I don't understand. This is probably the best attitude that we can have towards catalyst and third density in general, to say, I don't understand. I have no idea, but I know that I'm making the right move because there are no errors. Ron said that there are no errors. All our mystics say that there are no mistakes. And so we know for sure, and if we can know it, not just trust it, but know it from inside and have that faith and will that we're going towards the right direction, then catalysts will continue to come and we will see it for what it is. You develop a sort of discernment, an eye to see, okay, so this looks very tragic and looks awful, and I'm going to experience the sorrow, experience the frustration, but I know that behind this there is an opportunity. If you look at your life and you see everything that has happened to you, notice that the first thing that we seem to obviate is that we have survived everything. Otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. No matter how you survived it, even if you lost a physical part of your body, or if you have lost people or material stuff, you are here alive and well and watching me on a screen. It means that you have survived all of this. Doesn't that mean that everything that you have gone through has put you in this place? These are things that never occur to us because we're so focused on the future and we're focused on things in the past that didn't go well. Well, this is the opportunity to look back, and this is forgiveness as well. If I ever make a video about forgiveness, This is the purpose of forgiveness. Forgiveness is really looking at the past and changing the past. This is how you actually change the past. People are obsessed with traveling to the past. Well, you can do it all the time. You can just go back in your perception and change the way you see things. So this is all a process in which you go through so you can polarize yourself even more. And so when you do that and you accept everything, you have an open heart, then more things will come to you. This is a good point to say that people think that catalyst is negative because we use catalyst always in that context. Oh, I'm having so much catalyst. A lot of things are happening. Oh, this catalyst. But we don't pay attention to the good catalyst or the enjoyable catalyst. And catalyst, again, like I said, is neutral. So the more you are in an acceptance mode, then you simply see everything as perfect, beautiful, no mistakes. And that is what brings you further up in polarization and continue to feed that feedback loop. Now, lastly, I want to say that the way to process catalyst is through self-reflection. This is how we not only go out and experience life, but also we go in and further process the experience into an integration. And I think that's the key word, integration. How we integrate things in our lives is what makes us, in essence, higher and higher in terms of perception, or more expanded in our consciousness. So self-reflection, it really invites for meditation or for contemplation, but really just looking at things and seeing, like I said, I know that there's something behind the situation that looks so awful, but I know there's an opportunity. Even though all my life I've had certain things, I can see the process of the evolution of me and how I have progressed because of the opportunities that opened up. Sometimes we can see with a keen eye how losing a job or losing somebody and whatever it is that is negative in your life has opened up even more opportunities to you. This will always happen, and all we need to have is faith and the direction of the will towards that point. With that's all I have to say about catalysts. I know there's much more we can discuss, we can expand on this, but this is Catalyst in a nutshell. If you like me and you like my channel, please consider subscribing. I think the 40% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. It's only one click, helps the community, helps you, helps me, and makes us all happy. Hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.